Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm currently on vacation. I have time off work. I tried to do some reading and I thought it would be fun to do a little vlog where my cat chooses my next book. So I have taken the 3 books from my winter TBR that I'm currently most excited about that I haven't read yet. And I want to quickly show you the books. And then we go to the part where the cat chooses what I read next. And then I'll do a little reading vlog so you can see whether my cat chose wisely. That's the idea. Let's talk about the books. So book number 1, we have Gingerbread by Helen Oyeyemi. This is the shortest book that I have to choose from for the cat, but it is also probably the one where I have to think about the most what's actually going on, because Helen Oyeyemi's writing style is a little bit harder to digest, but I really liked White is for Witching, so I'm very excited to get to Gingerbread. In this one, I think we're following a family of women, and it has something to do with them making gingerbread, and we'll see. I never know enough about books when I go into them to really talk about them, but that's how I just like to go into my reading. Next up we have Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. I have read one previous book from Margaret Rogerson as well and really liked it, so I want to try more. And this one is I think like a fantasy with quite a bit of romance in it. It has something to do with a library, and I think our main character protecting that library, something like that. And yeah, both of these books, Gingerbread and this one, were books I got in a Secret Santa. So this one is a little bit older though, so we'll see. But yeah, I really want to get to this one. And then the book that has been on my TBR the longest from these 3 is Alias Grace by Margaret Atwood. This has an adaptation. It is a TV show on Netflix, so I have been meaning to read this book since the show came out. Can you imagine that? So this is the chunkiest one of the books, but I have liked Margaret Atwood books before, and especially her chunky book, The Blind Assassin. So I hope that this one will be great. So yeah, these are the choices. Now let's get the cat. So here are the choices, each with a little treat. I'm a bit worried she's not going to see them, but we'll see what happens. Okay, I guess Gingerbread it is. Okay, my cat does not like fantasy, it seems. So I just decided to make myself a little hot chocolate, and I thought we can do a cozy reading update, even though the lighting is really bad and I'm sorry for that. So I'm now halfway through Gingerbread. This is actually quite the fast read, which I didn't expect. I feel like because White is for Witching was quite challenging and the way it is told, I expected that from Gingerbread as well. But I must say that I find this actually easier to read, like on a sentence level, on a chapter level. This is very easy to follow. But still, what is going on is hard to understand, if that makes any sense. So in this one, we are following a family. And what is special about this family is their gingerbread recipe. The gingerbread is very special and everyone who tries it loves it. And we have 3 women in this family. We have Margaret, Harriet, and Perdita. And this is like the order, like Margaret is the grandmother, Harriet is the mother, and Perdita is the youngest, or the daughter. And so in this one, we start out with this like, yeah, this just like weird setting where we see this family. And then Perdita does something quite dramatic, quite dangerous. And her mother then starts to tell her story, because they're doing this kind of like deal, this kind of exchange, that Harriet will tell Perdita her story of where she came from and where the gingerbread comes from. And then Perdita will tell her why she did that dangerous thing and who put her up to it. So basically what we're reading for the most part is the story of Harriet in here. And Harriet is from a land that has a very weird name. I don't know if it says somewhere here. I can't pronounce it anyway. But yeah, it's this like weird country, and the lore is that this country just doesn't really talk to any other country anymore, and so most of them have forgotten that it even exists and how to get there. And so we're reading about this country, about Harriet's life as a child, which was very much a life in poverty. And so we see that she grew up on this farm, but the farm never really did well. And so her family struggled, and her mother, Margaret, was from a very wealthy family, but she kind of was disgusted by that and decided to marry a poor man. And because of her like family relations, however, she does have this connection to another wealthy family who seems to be very wrapped up with this and the gingerbread. So I'm definitely intrigued to read more, but it's also a very weird tale, definitely fairy tale-esque. And there's a lot of commentary in this, especially about poverty, about the way that rich people exploit poor people to keep them poor, to enrich themselves. And so yeah, I'm very intrigued to see where it goes. It's definitely a fascinating read, but as I said, it's just, you just follow along. It's just one of those books where you don't ask too many questions for the time being, and just follow along and see what you can gain from it, I would say. So far I'm really enjoying it, and I'm definitely intrigued to see more. And one thing I wanted to mention, what this book does differently than White is for Witching, which is the first book I've read by the author, is that we have a black family in the center here. So yeah, I'm gonna read the rest and I'll let you know how it goes. So I finished reading Gingerbread. I'm sorry if the lighting is a bit odd. We have like true April weather today already. It's like raining and sunshine and raining and sunshine, and I'm waiting for the rainbows to show up, but so far no luck. But yeah, I finished reading this book. It was definitely an experience. It was similar to what I expected. And last night when I was lying in bed and kind of thinking about this book, I thought that if you would make this into a movie, it would probably be a very weird crossover of Tim Burton and Wes Anderson. I don't know why, but that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from this. Like, this is weird, but in a fun way. So I'm gonna stand by what I said yesterday, that this is definitely easier to understand and follow compared to White is for Witching, but then also I think it is a little bit harder to really pick out the themes and the messages of this book. And I'm not gonna stand here and say that I'm smart enough to really do that. It's just that whenever I read Helen Oyeyemi's writing, I really enjoy it. I really like it, even though I'm not understanding everything and I'm not getting all the messages that are in here, but it's just enjoyable to me, and I just like going with the flow and just seeing how it kind of inspires my brain, like what thoughts come when I read these books. So I really like her writing, and I definitely want to read more, so this will not be my last Helen Oyeyemi book. In the end, I decided to give this book 4 stars, as well as I did with White is for Witching 2, just because it doesn't change my mind. I like reading these books, but they don't change my life, basically. So I think 4 stars is a good rating for me. But yeah, I would love to read more. I would love to hear if you've read this book and what you kind of took out of it, whether you've enjoyed it or whether you thought it was confusing and a mess. Because when you go to Goodreads, you can see that people have very different opinions on this book, but sometimes I like these kind of books, the ones where people just can't seem to agree whether they're brilliant or just confusing messes. But yeah, I really liked it. I liked the 3 characters we follow here, and the only thing that I had a hard time with sometimes was reminding myself who is the child, who is the mother, who's the grandmother in this scenario, because we spend so much time with the mother talking about her childhood that sometimes you have to remind yourself, like, no, she's still the mother character in this one. So that is something that I found a little bit challenging while reading it, to not get the characters confused. I think that this look that we get at this rich family and what they're doing and how they see themselves and how our characters see them was very interesting as well. This also briefly deals with teenage pregnancy and people who have something against that, I would say. So yeah, it was overall a very, very interesting read. Different themes that are put in here in this like very fairy tale-esque situation. And I just really liked it. I can't say I can recommend this book because I don't really know what I would have to say to do that. But I can say that I liked it, and my cat chose well. I think my cat has taste. So we might try this again one day. Let me know whether you think this is an interesting format, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!